Most people defend their cages. They defend their routines, their exhausted lives, the monotony that slowly suffocates them but feels familiar enough to cling to. When you try to elevate them, when you offer them the blueprint out, they recoil. They say investing is not for them. They say the markets are too confusing. They say they prefer stability, even though nothing in their life is stable. They will spend years trying to make a dollar through desperation while rejecting the one system in the world that rewards discipline and literacy over luck. They would rather sell their dignity online or clock in until their spine gives out than spend 10 hours learning the mechanisms that decide their future. It is astonishing how far some will go to avoid self-mastery. They cling to shortcuts. They cling to fantasies. They cling to the hope that one day they will get rich without understanding a single principle that governs wealth. Some convince themselves that the wealthy are evil, that money is corrupt, that success must be immoral. It is easier to condemn the mountain than to climb it. But markets do not care about your feelings. Markets do not reward outrage. Markets reward competence, patience, and inner discipline. The stock market is supposed to be boring. It is supposed to repel you. It is supposed to look insane and intimidating. That complexity is intentional. It is not an accident. It is a filter. The market is the last frontier where knowledge still rewires destiny. And if everyone understood it, the game would collapse. It took me 25,000 hours, 7 years of 10 to 14 hours a day, chart work in parking lots, chart work at dinner, chart work at 2 in the morning. Women I dated told me I cared more about candlesticks than their feelings. Maybe they were right. But I was not studying charts. I was studying freedom. The irony is, you do not need to become a 1% trader. You only need to understand your own money better than the advisor who barely knows your name. Because if you contribute to a 401k and claim to hate artificial intelligence, while 41% of your passive dollars end up in AI exposure, what exactly are you doing besides living in contradiction? People spend 50 hours a month arguing about politics they cannot change while knowing nothing about the capital system that dictates their quality of life. They set alarms so they do not lose their job while refusing to learn the one subject that could liberate them from needing a job in the first place. At some point, ignorance becomes hypocrisy, and at some point, hypocrisy becomes a life sentence. Here is the truth nobody wants to admit. Intelligence is not the dividing line between wealth and poverty. The emotional edge is worth more than IQ points. The smart broke are enslaved by the fear of failure. Their identity depends on avoiding embarrassment. They cannot act until they have calculated every possible outcome. Meanwhile, the dumb rich are immune to shame. They tolerate rejection like it is nothing because they understand a brutal truth. Embarrassment is temporary, opportunity is not. Their tolerance for social discomfort becomes their wealth engine. They act before they can think themselves out of the move. Mindset beats mastery. The smart broke spend years trying to master a field before daring to make a move. The dumb rich jump into the arena immediately and gain mastery through action. Skill develops fastest in the game, not on the sidelines. Obsession creates competence. The wealthy are relentless. They repeat the same actions until success becomes inevitable. Meanwhile, the smart broke scatter their attention across endless interests and never compound in any direction. Risk-taking is an acquired taste. The rich build tolerance to volatility. They adapt to uncertainty until it feels normal. The broke avoid it, choosing safety, not realizing safety compounds into mediocrity, while calculated risk compounds into wealth. Money gravitates to confidence. Confidence is posture, not emotion. The rich speak boldly, move decisively, and assume outcomes will bend in their favor. The world responds to that signal. Imperfect action beats perfect hesitation. Opportunities do not wait for readiness. Wealth flows to those who step forward while still underdeveloped, imperfect, rough around the edges. Smart, broke people overvalue competence and undervalue relationships. They believe merit alone should be rewarded. Meanwhile, the wealthy understand that proximity, networks, and social leverage produce 90% of breakthroughs. Wealth is psychological. You do not need extraordinary intelligence. You need emotional resilience, tolerance for volatility, and the willingness to look foolish on the ascent. The world rewards the bold, not the cautious. While the masses defend their stagnation, something far more consequential is happening behind the curtain. The global monetary system is reaching structural exhaustion. The debt mathematics are no longer sustainable. The US government is drowning in liabilities that can never be repaid in real terms. Interest alone threatens to eclipse discretionary spending. Bond markets are fracturing. Liquidity is thinning. Option mania is reaching historical extremes. Retail exposure is at record highs. And beneath the surface, pressure is building, and the world's central banks know it. In 2022 and 2023, central banks purchased more than 2,000 tons of gold, the largest accumulation since 1950. China is quietly acquiring Bitcoin via state channels and mining expansions. Russia is unloading dollar reserves and stockpiling bullion. BRICS nations are building alternative payment systems. These are not symbolic actions. These are preparations. And as a coin collector, I saw the early signals long before the public caught on. The price action in silver and gold was not random. Premiums widened, supply thinned. Dealers were paying above spot just to source inventory. Then something happened that most people completely ignored. Goldbacks returned, not as collector items, not as novelty, but as functional microcurrency. States were adopting them. You could walk into a store and buy a jug of milk with fractional gold notes. That was the signal. Grassroots remonetization of gold. A quiet return to hard money principles beneath the noise. While everyone else was asleep, the narrative was already shifting back toward real value. Governments have intelligence agencies, they have economic advisors, they have access to data the public never sees, and they are all preparing for the same eventuality. A dollar collapse, a sovereign debt implosion, a global revaluation event. This is not a conspiracy. This is arithmetic. Governments have only two options: default or devalue. Default destroys national credibility. Devaluation destroys the people. History shows the choice is always the same. The government sacrifices the public to preserve the state, and they will do it again. This is why coordination is unfolding behind the scenes. This is why nations are accumulating hard assets, building alternative systems, shifting reserves, and positioning for the next monetary epoch. Bitcoin is not being acquired for ideological reasons. It is being acquired because it is the only non-sovereign asset that can be revalued upward at scale. Gold is not rising for decorative reasons. It is rising because the world is preparing for a debt purge. The timeline. The insiders follow 2025. Accumulation phase. Institutional and sovereign accumulation accelerates gold narratives, strengthen Bitcoin, quietly absorbed by major players. 2026 crisis phase, bond market stress, debt ceiling conflict, liquidity fractures, extraordinary government intervention, volatility spikes, retail panic. 27 revaluation phase, Bitcoin reprices toward 1 million, gold revalues toward 15 to 20,000. The dollar collapses in purchasing power, inflation detonates. Those positioned in 2025 survive. Those who didn't are financially destroyed. 2028 to 2030 stabilization phase. Bitcoin stabilizes between 500 and 800,000, gold between 15 and 18,000. The dollar stabilizes at a lower purchasing power. The reset is complete. History repeats. Hard asset holders are preserved. Dollar holders lose 70%. The middle class shrinks, the wealth gap explodes, and the public demands answers, not realizing the reset was engineered deliberately to erase unpayable liabilities without ever declaring default. The choice. The government does not care about your principles. It cares about survival, and it will sacrifice your purchasing power without hesitation, without remorse, without accountability. Your choice is simple: adapt or be destroyed. Position yourself in hard assets. Preserve your wealth through the reset. Build something on the other side while others start from zero. Or trust the government. Hold dollars and watch your savings evaporate. Because the smart money already chose. China chose, Russia chose, BRICS chose, the central banks chose, the insiders chose. The only remaining question is which choice you will make. Never forget the principle that governs every cycle. The stock market does not create wealth. It transfers it. And Warren Buffett said it better than anyone. The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. In the coming years, the impatient will lose everything. The patient will inherit the next era of financial reality. Hard assets, scarcity, discipline, understanding, sovereignty. The choice is yours.